All right, everybody. Yes. Today is Radiator Day, or Radiator Oil Leak Day, and I've got a Suburban to work on over here. But let me give you a quick rundown of this here. This is a Toyota. Let me give you, it's a Toyota. You stick with me. Toyota Avalon. And this guy bought his own radiator, but we're going to be swapping it out. So I'll give you a quick little rundown of how these things are to get in and out. With the right tools, you will be okay and not upset. Here we are. There's the old trusty 3-liter V6 with this, man, that thing is just a tried and true Iron Duke, man. That thing will just keep on running as long as you keep this timing belt changed out. And the Toyota Camrys, the Lexus ES300s are the same. Same motor, same drivetrain, same things. We're going to get this radiator out. So first thing we're going to do is, I'm not even trying to reach that drain plug. I'm going to catch the fluid in a pan that's underneath here. Save us a little trouble. And you can do this at home with a couple of ramps. First thing I want to do is get this top hose and let it kind of fall down and drain out. We'll stick him over here like that. How about that? We'll just stick a little hose over there. Now, there's these fan shrouds need to come out first. That way you can get to your lower hoses, and they're easy to get out. You need to take these two top bolts off. Leave a little one in the corner just so it doesn't be flopping. Down here on the bottom, there's some bolts. There's a bolt, and our 10 millimeter, by the way. One down here, one down here. Watch your hand on the hot manifold. Same thing, you've got a bolt right here, and then on the other side you have another bolt right there. And I use a little quarter drive ratchet and a deep well 10 millimeter socket. Reach down there and get those. I love my little handy, this is a go-to thing. You zip them other bolts out, you'll pull the fan, of course unplug the plug-ins right here on each side. That's step one. We'll get the fans out. We'll be right back. This fan just lifts right out of there. Careful not to, you're replacing the radiator, but we still like to use good habits and care when we're removing parts, just out of habit. So we don't just jerk things out of there. We kind of be careful, because when you're installing your new radiator and putting your fans in, you want to be very careful with these right here. New radiators are not made of what you would think. The aluminum on these new cores, or the flues, is really, really thin. It doesn't take much at all to puncture one of these. So you need to be very careful with your new radiator, because they just don't make things like they used to. So next step, I'm going to remove these two transmission oil cooler lines. I'm going to pull them up so that fluid doesn't run, and I'll lay a rag over them so nothing gets in the little things. Next thing I'll use is this right here, and after I answer this phone, I'll show you the tool that's going to do that. This is one of the tools I use, which is very basic, but getting these little squeeze clamps, usually they're aimed downhill like that, and so they're hard to get on. And you can use needle nose pliers, they work, but these little small vice grips that are needle nose style, boy, they just lock on it and make it so easy. You can just do that right there, and then you just remove those once you get your hose out. But then I have another tool that does the hose. Okay, so here's this tool. I'm like, what is that? What is that? It can there it is right there, and it's got a cable, and it leads to a little deal, and you can squeeze this. And the neat thing about this is it'll, okay, watch. You see that? How I can grab that clamp from the bottom, and I can just slide it back. So we're going to move these lines, and so you may have trouble with these, and you need to be careful not to mess them up, because they're actually better than even these old hoses are still better than the new transmission line you'll get at the store. So I've got to be careful. We're going to just kind of keep twisting and working these. There it goes. Got that one to come loose. You should be really careful, because you want to save these. You don't want to mess up these really good lines, even though they're old and been on the vehicle for a long time. I can say that was some really good rubber they used. I'm going to stick it up over here so it'll stay out of the way, and then I'll lay something over that. And like I say, you just take a pair of pliers and just gently, don't give it a good old crank. Just kind of ease them side to side. You'll feel it break loose. There we go. I'll lay that up there. I got a customer pulling up, so we'll have to handle that. Last but not least, we'll remove these two bolts here. So several things you want to do when you're installing your new radiator. That's going to come in a box. You're going to get some hardware. I've already pre-installed this stuff just now, but I'll just give you a little rundown. I lay this down so I can kind of get an idea of the angle of this piece here. So we wanted that to be angled the same. Now, they gave me a curved one. It needed to be a straight one, so I hope that doesn't pose a problem. You wouldn't think it would, but it's just a short hose, so we'll see how that rolls out there. You'll get some little bolts like these right here. And you want to put the radiator up on its end, and you just push those in flat side, and that's what's aftermarket, how they changed the design of these for those are to hold the fan shrouds in. And another thing I always like to do for good measure is I always like to double check to make sure they got the petcock tight. That thing, I had one time I put in there, and it was hard to get at that thing, and it was leaking a little bit, and I looked at it, and I didn't check the petcock. So something that always pays to do is check the petcock. Now, you'll have rubbers on the end of right here. And so I'll take those off because a lot of times you don't get those and they need to go back in place. They just go in here. They're real simple. And yeah, we'll wipe a little bit of that water and make it look real nice under here. Real nice. Well, anyways, there's our transmission lines out of the way, covered up. All right, we're going to go back with this radiator now. Okay, so one other little detail about squeeze clamps. Believe it or not, I really, really like these things right here. If I'm doing new hoses on a vehicle and these are still good, they're not rusted up, they're looking real good, I will reuse these. Because I have many instances where I've replaced hoses, like top and bottom hose or some kind of bypass hose. Even, oh gosh, I had one that was hard to get to. And you use a squeeze clamp because that's what you're taught to do. You're like, yeah, put a new clamp on her, take that clamp, throw it away, new clamp, new clamp. And the squeeze clamps are good, but the problem is you're running on an older radiator. This here gets real brittle at the top, especially from all the heat. Matter of fact, when it comes to radiators, you're going to see the top side or wherever the water exits the engine. Usually is the side of the radiator that fails first because it's catching the brunt force of the heat before it kind of dissipates and goes down to the bottom. Because it flows this way, your water or coolant is coming out, going into the top and going down, and then air gets by this here and dissipates the heat. Well, back to what I was talking about, these really handy-dandy clamps, they'll always keep a pressure on that hose. As the rubber sort of collapses because it's going to under its normal pressures of heat and seating in, your clamp will get a little bit loose. I've had to go by and just give when a car comes in for a checkup, I'll see screw clamps. I'll give them a little quarter of a turn, and that really prevents leaks later on down the road. But when you're using these and you want to reuse these clamps, you'll notice that there's a little slot cut out right here and a little slot cut out here. And then you'll look on the hose that you're reusing and you'll see that there's you'll see a raised point where it's kind of indented into the rubber. Same thing right here on these clamps. Basically what you want to do is reposition that clamp back to its normal place where these actually line back up. You're going to have a lot better seal. I have done this and seen a little minor leak coming out because I didn't get it lined up, and there would be a little step and that didn't squeeze down on the hose evenly. So if you'll make sure you'll line these back up, you'll have to flip the clamp back down. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but trust me, the payoff is real well worth it. Plus, if this clamp is sticking straight up, there is a possibility, maybe not on this vehicle, but if you're doing radiators a lot, that this clamp will get in the way of your fan shroud and prevent you from properly installing it, and you'll have to go back into it and switch that around. So yeah, just a couple little things to know about when it comes to using these squeeze clamps that I love so much. I think they're great, especially since they're not like the ones that Chrysler used to have, which was a wire ring and you had to have these special pliers. I think a flip around, it was like, oh my gosh, these are really good. And if you got that little tool that I used right there, that is just the tips, guys. So anyways, okay, let's go back. Basically reverse procedure now. We're just going to put it all back together, and then we'll leave the radiator cap off while it's warming up to purge any air out of the system. Once I see it flow a little bit, I'll cap it off. We'll let it run till the fans come on and cut off, and when they do, I know that no air is in the system and she's ready to go. So thank y'all so much for tuning in, and we'll just be right back. Give me 1 second here. See the clamp, how I line that back up right with that indention. Remember that big thing.